Doomsday is debatably the strongest supervillain that Superman has ever fought, especially considering the fact that he's the one who actually managed to kill Superman.
That's all that matters.
Now, Doomsday has featured in the live-action films, animated films, video games, and in several TV series. But this video is going to focus on the origin story told in the animated series Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. We're first introduced to Doomsday in an alternate universe episode. In this alternate universe, the Justice League have turned evil and taken over the world.
I did love being a hero, but if this is where it leads, I'm done with it.
And they're also called the Justice Lords. And though the Justice Lords think they're the good guys, much like the video games Injustice and Injustice 2, they go too far and start executing villains and deciding who is guilty and who is innocent. Basically, they're over-protecting the world.
And an election isn't like football. There's a lot more to lose.
So when do you think might be a good time to have one?
Patience, Mr. President. Patience.
Now, these Justice Lords then see our universe, or the main DC universe at least, and decide to invade and take over. Not like a supervillain would, but they replace the Justice League and then take over by trying to protect the citizens too much, giving them safety in exchange for freedom, much as they did in their own universe. Now, Doomsday falls from the sky when they try to do this, and whereas it would be a huge threat for the normal Superman, the Justice Lord Superman beats him easily by using his heat vision to fry his brain and give him a lobotomy, which is something that the Justice Lords do to a lot of supervillains. In fact, pretty much all of Batman's Rogues Gallery has been lobotomized and now lives in Arkham, as a sort of reformed version of the characters, though they seem more like zombies.
This kind of thing just doesn't bother me anymore. In fact, nothing really bothers me anymore.
Now, lobotomizing Doomsday is something that the normal Superman would never do, as it's just way too violent, and it's crossing a line that he would never cross.
It's so out of character.
It's about time if you ask me.
Yeah.
Well, I say that. Later on, he does actually cross this line.
Didn't you recently try to lobotomize Doomsday with your heat vision, just as the Justice Lord did?
And that seems to be all we have of Doomsday. He's just an extremely strong monster from another world who fell from the sky. But later on, this is retconned, and it turns out that Doomsday was actually cloned from Superman's DNA by the Cadmus organization, but genetically altered to make Doomsday stronger than Superman. Cadmus originally made Doomsday to defeat Superman, should he ever turn evil. Kind of how Lex Luthor did in the live-action movie, creating Doomsday in order to kill Superman.
If man won't kill God,
2, 1.
the devil will do it.
Now, I've never actually understood this. After all, if Doomsday does kill Superman, you've then got to find a way to get rid of an even bigger threat in the form of Doomsday, who is even stronger than Superman is. Unless, of course, you create another clone to get rid of Doomsday, though then you have the same problem. It's just an endless cycle of cloning stronger and stronger beings. So basically, I think it's just a bad way to get rid of Superman. Although in the film Superman Doomsday, Lex Luthor does clone Superman and puts a kryptonite failsafe in his brain. It's a metaball of lead with kryptonite inside it that can be released and kill Superman if he gets out of hand or does something that Lex Luthor doesn't want him to.
Remember, I brought you into this world. I can take you out of it.
Though Superman managed to remove this, not via complex brain surgery, but with heat vision, a mirror, and a pair of hairdressing scissors. Now, this is pretty ridiculous, and it seems very impossible, but hey, the guy is bulletproof and shoots lasers from his eyes, so I guess you just have to go with it. Getting back to Doomsday, after he was cloned and enhanced, he was then subjected to brainwashing and conditioning to make him hate Superman and want nothing more than to kill him. This was Cadmus's way of making sure that he did kill Superman if he was ever released. But his hate and his strength were too strong, and he couldn't be contained, as he kept trying to escape to kill Superman. So in the end, he was put in a rocket and launched into space. But again, he was too strong for this, and he destroyed the rocket and fell back to the Earth, which is why he originally appeared to be coming from outer space when he first fell and fought the Justice Lords. There is actually a bit of a continuity error in the series with this though, as Amanda Waller, who is the head of Cadmus, says that Cadmus was formed after the Justice Lords came to our Earth. But Doomsday was cloned before the Justice Lords came to Earth, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to fight each other. But despite that rather large plot hole, it's still a pretty good story. This is actually quite different to the comic book story, as Doomsday was originally from prehistoric Krypton, a time when there are Kryptonians on the planet, but they haven't actually become the dominant species yet. And a scientist named Bertrand cloned a humanoid and released him into the harsh conditions of Krypton that killed the humanoid almost instantly, as it was a very harsh planet back then. So then Bertrand cloned him and made him stronger in order to survive that which had killed him. And this was done hundreds and hundreds of times, each time with the humanoid growing stronger and stronger, until eventually he was actually able to evolve himself, and every time he was killed, his body improved itself so that he couldn't be harmed in that way again. For example, after his brain is melted by the Justice Lord Superman, his body regrows, and his brain improves his skull so that heat vision can't penetrate it again.
Can't beat me the same way twice.
Now eventually Doomsday did go insane from all of this, as he remembered every life and death that he had had. So eventually, when he grew strong enough, he killed Bertrand for all he'd done to him, and left Krypton just to basically kill other people, as he was just insanely violent and crazy at this point. Now his body had actually evolved to live on solar radiation, much like Superman does, so he didn't need food or air to survive. And he travelled the universe killing untold millions, until eventually being beaten by one planet and sealed in chains and sent into space in a spaceship. Now, the race that killed him actually thought he was gone for good, but this part of wrapping the body in chains and firing them into space was part of their burial ritual, as they were trying to stop the spirit from leaving the body. And it's fortunate they did, because obviously Doomsday wasn't actually dead, he was just improving while he was on the ship. And this ship crashed on Earth in our past at some point, and it crashed with such force that it went deep into the Earth. And it was eventually discovered by humans who were digging deep into the Earth looking for minerals. He was still alive inside, as he's basically immortal, and he gets out and then eventually fights Superman and kills him. Which is why he's named Doomsday, because if someone can kill Superman, it would be Doomsday for everyone else. Or at least that's the reason given in the comic book. In the real world, the reason he's named this is because the original Superman comic book writers had labelled the idea of a story where Superman dies as Doomsday for Superman, and then the name kind of stuck when they eventually came up with the monster that was going to kill Superman. And that is the origin of Doomsday. It'll be interesting to see what the new film, The Death of Superman Part 1 and Part 2, will do with this story, as we've been promised a more accurate and detailed version of the original comic book than we got with the film Superman Doomsday, which was based on the same comic, though they didn't adapt all of it in that version. But we'll have to wait and see to see how faithful this adaptation is. So the question is, what do you want them to do with Doomsday in the new Death of Superman films? And what do you think of this version of Doomsday's origin? Be sure to let us know in the comments. I'd just like to say a quick thank you to those who made this video possible by donating to the Needlemouse Productions page on Patreon. Patreon is a crowdfunding site that is helping us to bring you more videos each week and to raise funds for adapting comic book stories into short animated films. If you're interested in donating or just want to find out more, a link is in this video's description. And as always, thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.
Superman, I'm here to kill you. Is this a bad time?